Good morning, everyone. Right, welcome to a quick tour of the Avaya OneSource configurator for mid-market. Most of the stuff we're going to show you is just stuff we've learned from trial and error, really, and the multiple mistakes I generally make. I'm going to go through it. I've got Dave Steller with me as well to answer any questions, and also if you've got any IM questions. What we're going to do, we're going to mute everyone while we're showing portions of it, and then we're going to stop, open up the audio bridge for any questions. So we get questions as we go. If that's okay, everyone, that makes sense. Right, here we go. The thing we found hardest, this was even yesterday we were doing this, to find a link that goes straight to it. We'll share these with you, these two links. This one is the best, the app36.avaya.com/ec/default ASPX, but we'll share that with you. And that will take you to here, and as you can see, Avaya OneSource. Now for mid-market, we don't have all the confusion they do for the EC tools. We can go straight to design and quote, Avaya OneSource configurator, and we'll go create. What we're going to try and go through is several scenarios. So we're going to go through a basic IP configuration, then we'll go for a more comprehensive IP Office solution, then possibly a network solution, then we'll show server edition and show you some of the problems you'll get when you're doing these. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to pick the product we want to do the quote for. What we've got first is the IP Office and B5800 branch gateway. Once we've got that, with the speed we're all used to, we press go. And then we select again. Now, what we've got here, if I get my little pen, we're obviously going to take the IP Office new system. If we were going to do a server edition, we would go to the IP Office mid-market. And you can see we've also got a configuration here, which I haven't used too much, is a migration from server edition to select. Let's turn that off. But for the time being, we're just going to do a basic IP Office. This gets a bit frustrating, this. You will keep pressing that until it comes. It is doing something in the background, and you won't really be assured it's done it until you get here. Right. As we go down this page, I'm going to point out a few things that will be helpful and also be a hindrance in the future. So, you'll notice the release, the release of the IP Office. In default, it's the 9.1. Obviously, this will change soon, and we can change at the moment to version 10. We want 9.1 obviously at the moment because it's the latest version of software. You've also got IP Office ASIC migrations here. So if you were going to migrate an older system, which I can show you now, you can pick the system you're going to be migrating from, CS1000, a Meridian, or a Communication Manager version 5 or less, and we can then apply ASIC licensing to the rest of the config. We're not going to do that now, and I'm going to show you a difference it makes as we go through. The one that's causing us problems at the moment and is easily missed is this next one, deployment type. Now, I'm not sure what it does. It adds a branch license into your config, which is a cost, and it also puts all the license into PLDS, which at the moment we'll try and avoid until we have to. So all we do here is select no, and that will save any problems going forward. Right. We've also got, for when we do go to version 10, it will probably default into version 10, and then you're going to get PLDS licenses. So you might want to be aware of this tick box here, or see this selection, to change it back into ADI. We've also got the system type. Largely not used this part here. We can do this later on in design. This is used though, the SCN design. If we were doing multiple sites, so we put multiple IP offices in, as soon as we tick SCN, it will put the voice networking license in to join them. Go through that anyway. So we'll get rid of that and we'll move on. I always put next here out of just force of habit, just so I know it's saved and I've got what I want. But fundamentally, that page is all done. What we're now going to do is start configuring the IP Office. So we go down to the bottom and we click create a new template. You see it's whirring away to take us there. Right, we're on our landing page. As you can see, as you go down the left-hand side, so as we go here, we're on the general page. We're going to work our way down. IP phones, CDM phones, wireless, data switches, trunks and hardware. You don't have to go to each one of these. If you want, you can just click on one of those and it will take you straight to it. For instance, if you had an IP 500, no phones, all you want is a SIP trunk on it. So you could go to this first page, then go down to trunks, put your SIP trunks in, and it will do the rest for you. But we're going to go through each page. So, as we go down, the first thing you will need to do on here is the telephone type. Now, you do get the option here, IP phones or digital telephones. We always do manually select telephones. It makes your life much easier going forward. It's one of the things as you go forward. You want to just make this as easy as you can for yourself. And we found that's the best way forward. As you go underneath that, we then pick our user profiles. So for the first design, we'll keep user profiles off of it. If you did put IP telephones in here, and then you went to user profiles, it will add a phone for each user you put in. So if we put office worker in, it will add your 10 office workers, for instance, and it'll add 10 phones, which that's why we don't like it. You might not necessarily want a phone for an office worker. You might just want communicator. So let's stick to manually add select phones. We can also add a receptionist here, customer service agents, generally not done it, or the new Avaya communicator for web we can add here. After that, all we're going to do is our messaging. So we'll start on essential messaging, and then we'll move up to preferred. Right, so as we go, messaging type, let's select the type of messaging we want. In default, it's going to be essential until we put a user profile in. So we're going to put embedded messaging, but we're going to put 30 users in, so the standard 2 ports isn't going to be enough. So we can go underneath that, and we can just there, and we can select additional messaging ports. So let's chuck another 2 in. And off we go. So we go to the next page. A bit painful, but we're going to go through each page. It might take long on each page. It does. After much, what's the word? Probably more arguments from myself. Once you get used to this, it does actually make your life a little bit easier. It's a good tool to use. Right. So we're now on the IP telephones page, which speak for themselves what it's going to do. But let's look at some of the top bits that can be helpful. Right. The bits we need here are spare Avaya IP endpoint licenses. Now, what this does. Say you've got a migration, you've already got 100, 4610s, and you want to use those in this design. You can't let this put phones in and then add the endpoints in without deleting stuff and going through design adjust. So all you would put in here is the number of phones you've got on the older system you want to move across, and it'll then apply the endpoint licenses on. We don't need to do that now, it's going to do it for us. You've also got third-party endpoint licenses, which speak for themselves. Third-party endpoint licenses are SIP phones, anything that's not Avaya that's going to need that license. Then, this is a bit as well that's easy to miss. Migrations, right here, migrations is, after we've selected ASIP at the beginning, we'll get the option here to say how many phones are coming in from the old system. As you can see, how many analog digital IP phones will be migrating from the older system. That wouldn't be grayed out if we were to select ASIP right at the beginning, which we'll show you later. We'll get rid of that and we'll work our way down. Now we get some stuff you are familiar with, or everyone's familiar with, is the type of phone we're going to use. So 9601s, we're not going to use those, 9608s, so on, all speaks for itself. We're going to pick, say, 30 9608s. One thing we've noticed on this, which generally leads to us doing it, giving a configuration out to someone and they will say, can you remove this? Is if we go down, it's added in 30 14-foot LAN cords. Now you might want those, but just to be aware of it, if you don't want to adjust it afterwards or pay for LAN cords you don't need, just go in there and add 0. A lot of people are going to provide their own LAN cables, so as a rule we would take that out unless we're asked for them. As we go down, and you can see you've got 1600 films, we've got our button modules. The button modules can't be added until you put a phone in that will take them, so you can't put a BM32 in until you put a 1616. So if you do, for instance, if it's an upgrade to a site or you want the BM32 without a phone, what you'd have to do is add the phone in, add the BM32 in, and then do a design adjust afterwards. But we won't do that for now, and I can show you design adjusts. Right, we're going to go to the next page. I can feel the excitement in the air in the next page we're going to show you. Right, TDM ports. Again, speaks for themselves, it's nice and easy. The first line here, this is stuff that it's got automatically from the phones you're going to add. You can see I can put whatever I want in there and it will just zero out until I then add 30 digital phones. And then you'll see it adds in, just here, it'll add that in when you add the phones in. What you could do, and we had to do this recently, is on the next part you've got spare phones. over here. What that was, we've done a migration of digital phones from a CM that moved on to the IP office. So obviously we don't want digital phones, all we want is the ports to plug them into. So what you would then do, in this case it was 504 in fact, which what you'll see it will do now, I put 504 in and it will then kill it. It will put it back to 384 because it knows we're configuring an IP office, we can't have 504 phones on. But you can see that will be our spare ports. We're going to zero it for now, I don't want TDM. Get rid of it all and work our way down. Most of this speaks for itself. You can add your phones, 1403, 1408, so on, the 95 series phones, and then down to analog conference phones. So, without further ado, we'll go to the next page. Wireless. It makes the wireless installs very simple actually. All you do is pick your phone, you pick your charger, then you can pick your servers you're going to use, and it adds all the SARI certificates in, and it adds the endpoints in. So DEX becomes very simple to do. Most things in this are designed to make your life easier. We're not going to put DEX in for the time being. Even your D100. D100's right at the bottom. So we can do our D100 installs from here. On to the next page. It automatically, now this is worth, always remember this, once you get more used to this, you'll start skipping parts. You won't go to TDM telephones, you won't go to wireless, you might go straight up to trunks. It will always put in, if you put IP phones in, this will always put in ERS. It will put in your switches. You can up it. If you want spare devices, you old stuff, you can change that and it will add the extra switches in for you. And we're done.
We can get round it some way.
Then we're getting to some stuff that's more relevant. We can do our trunks. You can see we've got our BRI, PRI. We're going to put a PRI in. So all we do is the amount of actual circuits. We put one in. It will default again to 30 ports on that. So if you want fractional PRI, you would have to reduce that so your licensing is reduced. In default, it will think you want full 30. We're going to leave 30 on it. Then we've got SIP trunks. You'll see there's two SIP connections here. We've got the, let me put my little pen on there. We've got the SIP trunk channels, which we want to use, and we've got the SIP CM connections. All we're going to do, 99.9% of the time, is put SIP channels in there. And what this does is something to be aware of, and something we'd advise you to keep on there. As we put our channels in, if I put 2 for instance, as we drop down, it will automatically put an SBC in. Now, from what we've seen with SBCs and the good they do in the world, I would leave the Portwell CAD in there, and it will license it as well. Right, so now we've got our Portwell. You can also see on the SBC configuration, it said how many advanced services. So if you were going to put mobile workers through this, you would need to add those. Obviously, we haven't got any power users in, so it's not going to ask us that. It's not going to do anything for us. So we've just got a basic SBC for trunks. It does default to the Portwell CAD, as you can see. You may want to virtualize this, nice and easy, just put customer provided VM. We're going to stick to the Portwell CAD. VCM channels are all worked out by the system, so we don't have to touch those. The other options, really, what I would do, media server, yeah, we're all good. Generally, you don't have to touch that. It's very, very rare we'll change a rack mounting kit on this. It will stay as default. So we'll go to our next page. 2 seconds now.
Tomorrow, no problem.
Back in a second. We just lost the Scopia connection.
Dad, can you send me fantastic repair?
Send it off, yeah?
Yeah.
I thought, should we open up, while I'm waiting for this, do you want to open up the bridge, Dave, and see if we've got any questions so far? Well, you're all unmuted at the moment, so if you want to ask any questions...
All participants are now unmuted.
Just while I'm waiting for Scopia to start up again. There we go. Okay. Oh, it's actually OneSource that died. Okay, right, hang on. We had a lot of things went wrong there. So we'll go back in and start it again. I think that's more our local network, by the way. I don't think that's OneSource. We very rarely get problems like that with OneSource. People in the room are laughing. I don't think they should. That's not kind.
Oh, God, they all sitting down when he said that.
Quickly show them the ASIC.
What we're going as Dave suggested, what we'll do this time, we'll go through it again, we'll do it quickly. I'll actually put the ASIP on it now so we can actually see the ASIP migration. So we're going to do ASIP, and we're going to pick a CS1000. Don't forget, we're going to put this from I'm not sure to no, so we don't get the wrong licenses. Click next. We'll go through this a few times, and this will all be recorded as well, so you can have it afterwards. Create new template.
I'll mute everyone now, should I?
And leave it open, Dave. Noise. If we get lost, noise will. Right, okay. I'm going to select this to manual. Right, add our phones in again. We'll put our 30. What you'll see now, just a quick one, because I've added ASIP at the beginning, I've told it we're getting rid of a CS1000 or changing, migrating from a CS1000, we now get the option to add the ASIP endpoints in. What it also do, say you're migrating from a much bigger system and you put 100 in there, it won't make any difference to this. So if I put 200 endpoints, it will default to the 30 because that's all the licenses it can reduce. So you only need to put the amount of phones. If you're going to put 100 phones in, put 100 in. There's no point in putting lots of them in. It will just bring it back down to the amount you've actually put in onto the new system. I don't want it just. Sorry, this silence is awful while we're waiting for these pages to go through. So please ask questions.
What's the square root of 98,221? It's a question.
There's always a comedian. Right. So if you look at the left, you can see it actually working down these pages. We're going to put our PRI back in. We're going to go down. We're going to put our SIP trunks back in.
They can just jump to the title on the left there.
Yeah.
And go from endpoint straight to trunks and hardware if you wish.
At least I know one person here is not paying attention.
Yeah.
Right, advanced applications. This wouldn't happen at the moment because right at the beginning, if we go back into here, as you can see, I'm going to jump back because I did make a mistake. Let's go to general. I didn't put this to essential. I want to force this to essential. Now obviously a contact center won't work without preferred edition. So if we go down, we'll go here, go to embedded, and we're going to add 2 more ports, and then we'll go back now to the advanced applications. And see, as Dave just pointed out, we don't have to go for each page. We can go straight to the left-hand side here and pick out the part we want. Right, and there's our contact center, which we are not requiring at the moment. There's your CTI Link Pro as well that you might need for integration with third-party CRM systems. I'm going to go to our right, what this now gives you the option is, now it's great, Avaya are going to do this automatically, but what you can do, you can specify what you need. So what we can go into manually select, and then you can pick out exactly what you want on the IP Office. So as you can see, as an IP Office, we've got 4 slots on the front. So you pick your base card, for instance a VCM32, and then you pick the trunks to go on it. So even though this does most of it automatically, when we look at the design in a minute, you can go back and redesign it how you want it. Most of the time though, a automatic design will work. And that, to a certain degree, is all we need. That's it done. So what we're going to now do is we're going to go configure design. If it's got any problems with the design you've done, it will tell you about it. I'll show you that in a second. When we get to some of the more complicated designs, we'll force some errors into it. And it's good. It will tell you where to fix them as well.
Just highlight that. Configure design. Top left-hand side there.
Sorry. Yeah. What configure design is just there. Yeah. We'll put the point there. So if we look at these, it's going to tell us what the problem is. We've got a warning. Recommended process must be confirmed location. Final order. Okay. We'll leave that. That's just information. So now it's going to go through, and it's telling us we haven't done any maintenance service. As you see, it's going to force us to maintenance service. We can remove this afterwards if you want to, but it's going to put it in for us. So we go to maintenance services, and again, as it's mid-market, maintenances are incredibly easy to do. So this is going to take us to maintenance, and all we need to do, if I get my little pen, we go down, all this, we can ignore all this, go right down there to Avaya Branch Gateway IP Office. Hope you can see that. Let's take that out, that looks terrible. Just down there, that was good. There we go. Apologise for my terrible drawing. Right, so all we have to pick out is IPOS, and then we pick how we're going to, the support we want. So if you wanted code delivery token, we'd have to put an email address in here to send it over to. I'm going to put sales guys here. Then we pick the remote technical support when you want it, 8x5 or 24x7. Do you want hardware support? And how long do you want the contract over? So let's do a 1 year. And that's it done. Maintenance is now finished. We now can go to configure design. So back over here. And we're done. Right, now we're going to go back to configure design again just to make sure all is good. And hopefully we'll get no errors this time. There's our design. We can now go through and edit any of this you want to. As you can see, on the second time through, if I highlight this, it's put those replacement line cords in. So if you see there, remember when I said to you, just check it hasn't put cables in, there's the line cards. There's a few things we generally always take out, which you might not want to, but I'll show you what we generally do. So if we go back to design.
I always put them in, Rich.
Do you?
Yeah. Well, you only have to buy them later.
Okay. What we'll do, I'm just going to go over here now to design adjust, so we can actually manually take out the parts we don't need. So we'll go to design adjust. This is very useful. Dave pointed this out to me that we should always show people this kit just to make sure you can tweak the design afterwards. Right, so the kind of things you're going to want to take out of this, not always, as Dave said, not everyone does. So line cords, all we do, highlight it and delete. And then there's one more thing that generally gets put in.
Design adjust.
And this one hasn't. Good. There was one. What I was looking for was the DVD that comes with this, which we would generally take out, but this time it hasn't put it in. So we're pretty much done on that. So we can go save. If you did want to add a part that's not on there, you don't want to go through the whole configurator. What you could do, if we exit that, we can do a piece parts order.
Like that button module.
Like the button module, for instance. As Steve just said there. So I'm going to put the only part number in I know off the top of my head, so 171991. So I want to use that license, we can search for it, highlight it, press down so it adds it to the design, press save, and we've got one more stage. So now I've just added a preferred license in, which generally not going to do, we'd have done this earlier on, but it was just an example. We can tell it I want a quantity of 1, and then save and return. And that's how you would add just part numbers into the design, and you'll see it right at the bottom. There we go. So if I show you here, there's that part I just added. It'll be underneath all the support contracts, and we're done. Right. The last thing we need to do is actually price this up. So quite easy. We just go up to the top, price reports and exit. We're taken out of the configurator, back to EC. Is there any questions so far? I've got some default designs we were going to go through. If there's anything anyone wants to see designed, let us know. They don't vary too much, to be honest. There's just a few gotchas if you're going to do SCN, for instance. So there we go. The first thing it's going to ask us to do is assign a customer to this. So I'm just going to do a generic.
Well, since Westcon, they don't have to do that.
Oh, that's Steve. We won't get this.
Just because we're Westcon, we have to choose.
Oh, there you go. One thing I'll point out, just it's because we're Westcon and we've got multiple resellers, we have to choose. You wouldn't have to do that. We defaulted to use to you. So I'm going to pick the business partner link ID, press update, so it applies all the discounts to that. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look for promotions that can be applied to that design, which this will do itself. We just got to tell it to look for them. Right, so all we do, go over here, check for automated discounts.
It used to say promotions.
Yeah, I've noticed that change.
Yeah.
And what I'll always do here, generally what you're going to do is go for the biggest one. There we go, so the biggest promotion we've got there. You have to tick this down the bottom. And it doesn't matter how many times you do this, I always constantly forget this and it will say you can't do it. So that little tick box has to be selected. So we now go apply selected promotion and the promotion's added to the design. And now we're pretty much in the same area as what Steve was showing you on this, where you're just going to download a spreadsheet. What you will always do on this, we'll just do dollars on it, we won't do anything else, and then we have to apply anything else manually.
Oh, Martin's saying the DVD is added if you use preferred.
Thank you, Martin. Right, so if we go down here, we can get that and we can now just get via this price, go to the Excel spreadsheet, and that downloads our price, which we can, not much point in looking at a spreadsheet for the time being, so we'll cancel that and we'll start a new design. So let's get,
It's worth saying here that when you add a promotion, it's in US dollars, so you need your authorized or your partner level, which is authorized silver, gold or platinum, plus the Avaya APL, so at least you know what the retail price is, plus your buy price in US dollars. You then have to manipulate the spreadsheet with the appropriate exchange rate to actually arrive at your UK pound price.
So what we do is we take the price there, take the discount away from it, and then we'd convert those dollars into pounds or euros using our exchange rate.
Yeah.
Fair enough? Good?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you just apply the maths on the spreadsheet at the appropriate exchange rate at the time. But it will be, if you apply a promotion, it is in US dollars, I'm afraid.
Right, next. What we'll do is we're going to do a preferred edition and we'll do it with SCN in, just to show you. I know we've gone over it a little bit, but let's add one now. So if I come back into here, we'll close it down, we'll start again.
So how many sites will we do, Rich? 2 sites? Just 3? 2 or 3?
Let's do 2.
2, okay.
Once you've been one installed, you've seen them all. It's doing it multiple times or just futile. We're still an IP Office SMB for an SCN system. Is everyone aware of SCN? I've taken this for granted. It just means multiple IP offices that will form one big directory. They've got resiliency. They all share the same voicemail. Turns it into one big system, up to 32 sites and 1,000 users. Right, same thing. We're going to go down this list again, so you're really familiar with these. We're not going to use ASIP this time. We do want to change that to make it no. Only difference is, when we've got SCN there, we need to put that on. If we didn't put it on, all that would happen is it would just take out the small community networking licenses. That's all it does. And you can go back to this retrospectively. We could go for the whole design, put in 5 IP offices, then think there's no SCN licenses. We can just come back to this page by clicking on that and then add it. So it's not a problem, and it will do it all for you. Because as everyone's aware, it's not easy to get this. We're not robots, we can't get this right every time. But OneSource makes it nice and easy where you can make changes retrospectively. So we'll change that to no. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to change that to yes, just to show you what it actually does. And we'll leave the SCN in as well. So we'll create this as two IP offices, we will make some mistakes, and then we'll go back afterwards and we'll show you the problems that you'll see and how to fix them. Right, so we'll create our new template. So we're going to create our base IP office. So this will be site 1. It doesn't really make too much difference what we put on it. It's we'll go through.
Create again. Yeah. Yes. Site 1, site 2.
Now, what Dave was saying was he would do create now. What I always do, this is a preference thing, which will go your way. I would create the first site, then do create the second site. So what we've done, we created our first site, which is template 1. Now we can create our new template for the second site.
It's slow. That's it.
So we now do exactly the same thing manually, and we can start adding stuff to the second one. What you can also do is, if we go into Location Manager, we can give names to all these, so that when your quote is actually produced to you, it will show you the pricing per location. So you'll get different London, Slough, Crawley, whatever you want. So I want to start on the first site, just to make it nice and simple, to get that out of the way. Put our primary site, the biggest site. Right, so let's go to template 1. Right, manually select phones. We'll put some user profiles on this time. Let's put 10 office workers on it. We'll go down. All good. The messaging now is going to have to be preferred. It's obviously going to cause a problem. If we don't put preferred in this, put essential, when it goes into SCM where you have to have preferred on one site, we're going to get an issue. So we'll put preferred on it. We also, another thing is where you're going to put preferred edition. Are you going to put it onto a customer server, virtual server, or do you want an Avaya server? Straight above that is where you select this. So we can select anything we want here. Let's do we'll do an external server rack mounted. So we'll do customer provided. So we'll do a customer provided server. So you can their 2008 server, for instance. Messaging ports, we're going to up that. We're going to have more than, we've got 2 sites, so the base 4 might not be enough. So we'll put an additional 12, so we're going to have 16 in total. The rest of the design on this isn't a lot different. Well, no different, to be honest. What I want to show you, though, is the errors we'll get with those licensing at the end. Let's put some more users on to make it more realistic. So the biggest site will have 100. We've got no ASIP because we didn't select it at the beginning. I can ask that question now if you want. We've got the question, if SCM was not chosen, what output will the configurator... Oh, sorry, I thought we had to tell everyone. What output will the configurator produce when more than one template is added? It will do the same thing. The only thing with SCN, all it's going to do is add the licensing in for SCN. So you might have multiple sites that aren't connected, it just will take out the small community networking licenses. Right, we're not going to put in any of this. See, really what I could do at this point, which we're not going to do, is I could just jump straight through to the trunks, put those on. But it's worth seeing these a few times anyway. Date switches, we'll leave the switches in for our 100 users. We're going to put a PRI on there, one. We'll put another SBC in. Right, and then we're going to go to our IP Office template 2. We'll do a similar thing on the template 2, so it's just another IP Office. We could put preferred on this one if you wanted to. Hopefully you're aware we could have several types of voicemail. In SCN you can only use preferred, you can't use essential, so we'd have to put preferred on somewhere and everyone looks at that. We could put preferred on this one as well and use distributed voicemail. So we go through messaging, we'll just do none, so it's going to use the central one. We'll pick our phones again, so let's put another 100 of those. Next. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to jump down onto trunks and hardware. Add our trunks, then we'll configure it, look at the licensing, see what's missing and what's wrong, and then we'll go back into the IP Office configuration and fix it. So we'll do let's do another one of those. We won't put a SIP on this one. Next. and configure design. So what we should have is 2 IP offices, and a few errors. Not at this point, it'll be so. Just to reiterate on this one, once you've gone to maintenance, down to the bottom here, IP Office Branch Gateway and IP Office, select that, go to IPOS,
Yeah.
Right, done. So let's go configure design again. And hopefully you're going to see an error that we've been getting quite a lot. And it looks quite natural until I point it out what's gone wrong. And it's a problem that's only just started. This problem, if you've ever used this before, this problem's only started happening to me in the last 2 weeks. It's easily fixed. Right. Now, this is where we're going to get some errors. If you look, we've got this IPO branch distributed model, we've got the branch deployment, there's another branch license. If I just highlight these, in fact, let me go to design adjust, it's easier to see. So, back to design. Right, if we go down this list, you will see, I'm not going to take these out manually, I'm going to show you how to get it in bulk. So these licenses here, we don't want these, they're not good, and you'll also see all the licenses come in PLDS, which going forward, this won't be a bad thing, we'll have to do PDS, but at the moment, you don't want to use PLDS, an older system, that won't be a good sign. So what we've got to do, and we've got our license keys, and you'll see, or you won't see, there'll be a lack of voice networking licenses, because at the moment this isn't a network system, it's just 2 standalone systems. So all we do, we exit that, we go back to our design, and we go to the left hand side, and so it's got IP Office there, we're going to click on that. The best thing with these things obviously is practice. But most of these things are actually quite simple to use, to get quite fluid, and takes quite a while. Right, what we're going to do is just, over here, the 2 things we've got to do is that one, that is what's doing our PLDS licensing, which we don't want, and the WebLM license, the branch licenses, that's what that's putting in. See, deployment type, this configuration is deployed an IP Office branch, which it's not. But when you put I'm not sure, it presumes you want branch. We don't want that, and there is a cost to one of the licenses, so avoid where possible. The other one we're going to do is the SEN. So it's got no. So what we'll do, we'll put that to no, we'll put that to yes. So now, click next. All those errors should have gone away. I say errors, those configuration additions you don't want will be gone. We go to configure again. You'll also know if we send you a quote and it's got all those, give it back and adjust it.
Yeah, there was a few
Right, you can see we've gone back to ADI licensing. Let me go to design adjust, it's much easier to see. And we'll look for our, you can up the, it will do a base layer of SCN. We can up the licenses in between. If you've got lots of calls and you're going from site to site, we'd need to up it. So we go design adjust, and I'll show you where to do that.
And it's worth noting you've got site 1 and site 2 actually in the equipment list, so if there's certain components you don't want at each site, you can actually see them. physical location
No, it's
1 and 2.
Dave's looking just down here. So it tells you where everything is. Okay, so the first thing to notice, we're back to ADI licensing. And so this is only a recent thing, so well worth watching out for though. And now we've just got to look for our SCN. Sorry?
How can I tell them on ADI?
If you look on the licenses, so SIP trunk, ADI, voice networking, that's a license. I'm glad you asked that, Steve, because I wanted to find that license. So we've now got SIP trunks ADI, we've got voice networking for ADI. But you see, you might want to up that 4. That 4 is going to give you 4 outgoing calls to the other site. If you're routing calls on the PRI from one site to the other, you could get a lot more than that, so we can up those on the configuration. You could even just do a modification on this. So to make it easier for yourself, what we could do, if I get rid of my pen, we could go to voice networking licensing, go here, go modify, and we could up the quantity. So I say I don't want one of those, I don't want 22 of those. We're okay, we can do it there. So everything can be adjusted from this. This is probably an easy place to do it from as well. And so all the way down, we've still got our, it will always put the ICN cables in as well, which you may not need. Much easier for your engineer when he gets on site and doesn't make anything else up. And also it's a job that's put out of the way. As Dave said, if you've got replacement line cords, they're there ready to go. Everything turns up on site and there's nothing else needed.
Also worth noting, handsets are in 4 packs, so you might be looking for 100 handsets and think, oh, they're not there, but it will be broken down into 4 packs, so you'll see
they will be
a different number there anyway.
Unfortunately on this one it's got the 100. We can choose the 4 packs or not right at the beginning, which I can show you later. So that's an SCN design. So what we can do, we can come back out of here. And the rest is exactly the same. We can now just go to price. Once you're happy with that, we can price it. We can obviously modify this as well. One thing I didn't show you, we can modify this once you're at the pricing stage. So we price that, it goes back to the default web page. It does. I should have got that silent. It'd be a lot quicker if we were to do. Ask me some questions in between.
Yeah. Obviously someone's doing some maths in the background, so
Got their abacus out.
yeah. Electrician there.
Right. Okay. So we tick our generic again. Yes, press update. But yeah, one more thing, because the rest of it is exactly the same. One thing I was going to show you though was just making modifications to this and copying it. Generally, if it's a design you've just done like we have, you'd probably just go modify it straight away. If it's not, if it's someone else's design, what you can do is copy this and then make a modification of that. So you've always got the original, but you modify them subsequently, and I'll show you how to do that. So if you've got a design, you want to make a few changes, rather than at the EGB or EIE, we can just search for it, copy it, and then modify that, which when this stops revolving round. Right, so all you got, where we do the promotions, you've got modify, quote, and copy. So what you would do, if, for instance, someone's done this quote a few weeks ago, like Dave, someone said, can you make a few changes? Rather than adjust his quote, what I would do, I'd press copy. It then takes us to what looks like exactly the same page, but we just got a new EGB created for it. We can then go to modify and adjust. I've just got to remind a colleague that he's on speakerphone. Right, so we're back into the config. So this is our new one. This will be a new EGB created, and we can go and modify everything we've done before will be in here. Right, so that's SCN. So quite a comprehensive design. You can see they don't take too long. What takes the time is when you have to make continued changes, and if you make a mistake, and also checking through the design to make sure everything's there you need. And also, we're making it up as we go along as a design. When you've got a copy of something else, it obviously slows things down. So we'll cancel that one. Now we'll do a server edition. If you can do those two, a server edition is a doddle. Server edition, like designing a server edition, is generally much easier than designing an IP Office, to be honest. So, are there any questions on any of that before we start? You can all speak. If anyone wants to ask a question, please do.
Let's check that they're unmuted.
All participants are now unmuted.
Oh, I thought you were unmuted already. Right, you're unmuted now.
I think they were.
Okay. Right, no questions. We'll go through the server edition quote. Right, again, same place. We're going to go design and quote. We're going to go A1S configurator, create. By the way, just a few things noticed in here. If you wanted to, you could retrieve any of these. So if you've got a quote, put the name in it, you'll get it back. It speaks for itself, really. We'll go create. Choose our product, exactly the same as we did before. Press go. And this next stage is where we're going to change things. It's fairly simple. Instead of picking the IP Office SMB branch, we're going to pick the IP Office for mid-market. We'll add a gateway onto this as well, just to spice things up. It's probably a bit of a bit over-egging a server edition quote, but we'll make it a little bit more exciting. So, same thing. At the front, you can see there's not as much choice. There's not as many choices on this. We've got our ASIC migrations. We've got the server edition version, and you see you can actually pick select from here. It's not an upgrade. We're going to go straight into select. If there's anyone not sure what select is, just ask, and we can go through that. Right, license up. And that's all good. So what we're going to do now, we're going to create our location like we did on IP Office. Right, and all of this, hopefully, you should now be getting familiar with. It indicates what you want to do. Obviously, most of the time, we're going to be IP phones in the server edition, but we're going to go manually again because we prefer that. Resiliency, yeah, let's do resiliency. So we're going to have our primary and a secondary. It will automatically put in two of the same servers because you have to have the same servers for resiliency on the server edition. It's going to put in two voicemail ports for every server edition license we've had. So with two servers, we've got 4. We could add some more if you wanted to, if it's a bigger site. Let's put 20, make it more exciting. We go next. And exactly the same configuration we just had. At the end, I'm going to show you a difference in where we get an error on this. Let's put in a lot of phones. Let's put in 200 just to make the server edition. Oh,
there's life out there.
We don't need any of this. We're not going to put any TDM on it. But what we are going to do, we're not going to put any TDM phones on, but what I'm going to do is put a PRI on. And as you're probably aware, we can't put a PRI on a server edition. We have to have an IP office for it, so the gateway. And we're going to make things a little bit more interesting and cause ourselves an issue by putting too many PRIs on for the system we've got. So we'll have the switches.
You always do that, Rich.
What, make problems? Yeah, always. Someone asked before, I always put 8. Right. So if we put in, say for instance, 6 E1s, it will then adjust it for us, and we've got 180 trunks, which we don't want. We want more than that. Let's go for 12. So we've now got 360. It's 360 channels. Now we can only have 240 on any IP office, so this won't work on one gateway. Now for some reason, when we do this, this server edition doesn't know that. It will put one IP office in for a gateway, it won't put 2 in. So we can fix it, and it will show you the error we get because of that. So we're going through our server editions being done. It's great. We don't want a call centre at the moment. All good there. I'll just go through some of these options. It's asking what you want. Server edition indicate the server. So we want a virtualized or you want a proper server. What server? Do you want a virtualized? Do you want large, small, or best fit? Let's go for large. And we could fix something in a minute, but I'm going to fix it later. We also, hopefully you'll notice, what you probably want to, down the bottom, where we had advanced configuration on the IP office, now we've got advanced configuration 2, which I'll show you what that does. I'm corrected, I didn't want to do that. Right, so what it's shown you is the chassis 1, so it's got the base system, then the IP office. Now if we go to configure this, we're going to get an error. Fingers crossed we get errors, not often I say that, or we're going to get a problem. Right, now these are the ones we need to take notice of. If it's got that red background with a white cross, you need to take notice of that. So go in, and quite usefully, it'll actually tell you what's wrong. So the TDM requirements for location 1 exceeds the quantity of IP 500 version 2 chassis requested. So in default, this has only put one IP 500 in, and we've asked for too many PRIs for it. It can only do 240, and we've asked for, I think it's 300, so we need another one. So it even tells you how to fix it. Resolution. Return to, highlight this, return to the location, advanced configuration screen, and increase the number of chassis. So let's go and do that.
Break my systems like this, Rich.
I always try to break it. This way I don't have to do many quotes as you, don't you? The only reason I thought I'd show you this, I had this problem recently and I thought it's worth seeing it, just so you can see the... And also how clever this is, the fact that it does realise you've made a mistake and it's making it hard to put a system together that doesn't work. No. I don't think it likes me trying to create problems.
Overworked it too much.
Yeah. I'll probably need a couple of hours off after this anyway. Right, we don't want to be on that one. We want to be...
Reverting back to it, is it?
I'll go from here.
Oh, there you go.
I've just done it now.
I think you're there.
Yeah, it's done it in there. Sorry, that's my fault. I didn't give it long enough. I've been a bit trigger happy there and kept on clicking, so it finally made up its mind to do it. Another week clicked past it, yeah. Right. If we look right at the top there, indicate quantity of IP 500 version 2 chassis. So I've actually forced it to only use one, which we need more than that. So all we have to do is go in here, click to. This is quite useful because what this means is you're not going through the configuration and creating multiple locations of these IP offices, which can take time. All you're doing is you're saying, I want this on it, you work out the best way to do it. Now we put in 2 IP offices, we go next. You will be able to see this as well on the advanced configuration, the second part. You will see the second chassis that is put into there. And it'll add the VCMs and it'll add the server edition license. There we go. So before, where we had our total system, then we have, and then nothing else, now we've got 2, and it shows you what it's done on each. It's split it down, so we've got half the PRI on each, which you're obviously going to need, because it will give you resiliency for starters. So it's broken everything down, shows you everything where it is. So now, if we go configure design again, we'll get no errors. We've got a system created. I'm so tempted to press the button again. There we go. Yeah.
If you do, it'll crash.
Yeah. It's going to automatically, and as I say, if you wanted to remove maintenance, you can do it on the design adjust, take it out. I don't suggest you do take maintenance out.
The screen at the right at the front, you can select whether you want maintenance to be automatic or not.
Oh, let's shout that now. Right, down to IPOS.
Same screen as you would select the IPOS and the SCN. Down the bottom there is maintenance, yes or no. So obviously ours is set to yes. It is recommended to have IPOS on all systems now.
Right, so configure design should be done.
We've got a question, why hasn't it increased the VCM port to match the P1s?
I did look at that actually, and in fact it had 32 ports of VCM to the 180 ports. A good question. One would have to...
We would need... that could be an error in the system then.
That has made an error. What we'd have to do, I wouldn't have thought anyone else is going to do it apart from us, is we'd have to log out of Avaya. I'm just checking to make sure it hasn't actually fixed it afterwards.
So obviously the VCM channels have to match the E1 channels. On the IP 500.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a good reason why it wouldn't need it, but it would. Yeah, it would. what Commons just seen is the fact that the VCM channels aren't enough for those PRIs. But what we'll do, we'll raise a case with Avaya about that, just to let them know. You do get the odd little problem on this all the time, so that's why it's worth going through these designs afterwards. As you can see, that's why you get to this stage. So we can get to this stage and go, okay, yeah, that's not correct. It's got that in it, I don't want that. But anyway, but apart from that, we're all good. As I say, you can add them manually though.
Where it's worth looking at how many servers is added in. You've got an R220 server there.
We added one in for the one spot, so we should have two. So it's put two server additions. As you can see, what it's done, it's put 220. It didn't need to put a R620 in for that, 'cause it never had enough users. Well, actually, it's got the primary server. In fact, do you know what? This has actually done quite a lot wrong. Right, okay.
This is where design adjust comes in handy.
Yeah. And why you can't just leave these on server edition, it's actually, yeah, this isn't, because we asked for resiliency and it's given us 1.630, we actually needed two of those. We didn't need the two R220s, but okay. Yeah, worth looking at these afterwards. But the same thing applies, all we now do is apply a price to it. On this one, obviously, we'd have to go through and make a few adjustments to this. So we'd have to get the part numbers or modify the design itself. In fact, I'll go back in to do that. We'll just modify the numbers. We could take the 630 off and leave the two 220s in, which would then give us what we wanted, because we haven't got enough users to warrant a larger site, and they would also do the 1X portal and the voicemail. Is there, oh, okay, I thought that was my mistake. Is there any other designs anyone wants to see or wants to know how to do on mid-market, that is? Or any other questions, anything else you'd like to go through?
On that design, are we quite happy with the data? Did you do that right?
We could have
it's worth on the data, checking it will always put in the SFPs, copper SFPs or fibre SFPs. Normally it's not correct because you don't know what the exact configuration is on site, so it's always worth checking that and modifying them or removing them as required.
Nikos just asked about the promotions. I'll just show you the promotions again if I go back into here. So when we go back.
It's also worth adding with promotions, it's always in US dollars, so be mindful of the exchange rate that we are offering for the month. We set our exchange rates on a monthly basis. Nikos,
the ASIP is done from the landing page. I'll go through it again. So normal promotions are done on EC at this stage. When this comes up, when it starts wearing away, I'll show you the promotions here.
And with the ASIP promotion, you need to be confident of the site configuration and the amount of licenses that are on that original system, whether it's BCM or CS1K, because you need, when you actually want to place the order, you need that proof that the site actually had those endpoints.
And they get rejected if that information is not put through with the order.
That's right.
So I'll show you the first promotions here, Nikos. So this is the normal standard promotions for having, and then I'll show you the ASIP ones again.
So with ASIP promotion, you will actually see an ASIP license key, like ASIP Essential, ASIP Preferred, or ASIP IP Endpoint. Then you can apply the normal promotions after. So the ASIP is actual additional promotion before you add anything else. So it is worth it.
And they will, yeah. So here's your normal discounts. So we'll go into what's available. So all we've got is an IP Office expansion discounts. We can put that on there. And I'll just show you the ASIP again, which won't take 2 seconds. ASIP's actually done on the design itself rather than afterwards here. So once this is finished, we'll go back into the design, go to the landing page, tell it we've got ASIP, and then we'll tell it how many users we're going to put ASIP on.
Yeah, so you need that information before you start the design, otherwise you'll spend twice as long using the tool to revert back and change it again. So
But it's not a difficult thing to do, as I can show you. It's not a, it's a 5-minute task. I'll show you. It's so if we go in here, we're going to go modify the quote. So what we're going to do is run to the home page, the design itself that sets up all the whole template. So we click on the IP Office there. So if you've done a quote before, then you find out you are going to trade something in afterwards you didn't know about. We go here, click on IP Office. Oh, I didn't want Location Manager. We can come back to it. Right. So all we're doing, right in the first part, and also where, so there, so IP Office, ASIP migrations indicate the previous platform is designed for ASIP. So once we enable that and we say what we're migrating, so let's do a indication manager, go next. You don't have to go next, by the way, you can go to the next point, it's just a force of habit from my side. Then we'll go into location 1, and you'll see now we get the option to put the endpoints in. It is important that you, as Dave said, you've got the right amount of endpoints, and if you don't add this, it doesn't do it either. So it's only done at the IP telephony part.
And the ASIP promotion needs to match the number of extensions on the system or below the number.
So there we go. So if I show you here, so we've got 29608 Gs. If you go to this is where we need to add it in. If you only added, say the system you're migrating from is 150 users and you put your 150 in there, you will only get the discount on 150 endpoints. So it will still work. If you put too many in, if we put 250 in there, it will just revert back to 200. So you want to be exactly the same. So whatever you're taking from it to it, make them the same, 200. And that is now ASIP configured. If we now configure that design again, I'll show you the ASIP and it changes.
So there we'll have 150 ASIP IP endpoint and 50 normal IP endpoint.
Oh no, I've got 200. We can change it.
Okay.
We're going to stop doing this and we're going to go to our desk and there'll be loads of quotes. We should know what we're doing now though.
I know.
Right, there we go.
We're teaching ourselves here.
Yeah. So if you go in here now, you'll see all the licenses have changed to ASIP. So we've got our endpoint licensing. We should have our server editions have changed to ASIP. Anything with ASIP is now...
It's worth adding here, when you do reconfigure, if there was any errors in the system, and then you do reconfigure, and you take those items out, and then you modify or add something else in, and then you go configure, it will add the original things that you didn't want back in there. So always double check and use design adjust. Take out the things that you don't need, and be mindful that if you go back into the configurator and adjust things and then press configure once more, it may add those things back in, so be careful.
Good question, Dave.
Here we
as
go.
far as I know, yes. I'll have to confirm that.
What's this?
Yeah, so can we use, say you've got a system you're migrating, you've got 300 users on a BCM, on a CS1000 for instance, you only want to migrate 250 of them, can you use the remaining 50 on another site?
You're not migrating,
Yes.
This is just ASIP, you're not migrating.
Yeah, we've got a nod from the other side of the table, we see yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Avaya will look at that and they'll note down on the license, the actual
It would
KRS.
be an SBR and you would put all of your designs together as one.
But say it was done later on in the year, for instance. If I've got, so I've got 1,000.
You would get approval first from Avaya, that will be done.
Oh, okay. I don't know if you heard that. It would be approval from Avaya to say what we're going to do. We're only going to use 250 now, but we want to use 50 later on down the line. So it can be done, yes.
And they'll do what we call virtual parking of those licenses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's fine. So Avaya will...
I'll do that.
Okay. Yeah, so Avaya... Is there any more questions on ASIP or anything on the design? Do any other... Has anyone seen anything new that they didn't know already, or everyone happy? I thought you did. Does the actual hardware have to be returned, Steve?
Yes, it has to be decommissioned.
Yeah, it has to be proof.
The licenses are virtually parked. That's the only bit you're going to keep.
But just a general ASIP, when you actually someone trades it in, we don't actually send it back. It's just got to be proof of
so eBay.
Steve didn't say eBay. You misheard. That's a proof of destruction. So you have to tell them you've got rid of it. I'm sure they wouldn't be too happy if they got hundreds and hundreds of big CS1000 the size of a car turning up on their doorstep. Make it into a plot. Yeah. I'm not saying don't do it. I think it's quite funny. Because they're big.
So the terminology is be parked, reused.
We call them virtual parking.
Yeah.
The trouble is that's PLDS. So my question would be, when is R10 coming out?
You can use, they can use PLDS now anyway.
Okay. When is R10 GA?
April 1st. Well, April, the start of April.
I just got the first.
Yeah. Sorry, we digress. There's no access 1000 EC. Nice.
It's generic one.
But all of what you're just talking about there, virtual parking, you'll engage still local Avaya SE as well as this. Yeah. As a total design.
What Steve, I don't know if you can hear, Steve's in here as well, Steve Scott, and he was saying you'd engage your Westcon account manager and your Avaya account manager for that, for virtual parking and licenses.
Same as we do on CM.
There was a mention around PLDS and not to put up. You don't have to. You could do it all on PLDS. It's just at the moment that what we were showing you as well earlier on with the PLDS wasn't avoiding PLDS as much as avoiding the branch licensing, which will be an extra cost. You could put PLDS now on a 9.1, but a lot of people aren't used to it. A lot of people prefer ADI at the moment, but it's worth getting used to. It's actually a lot easier, especially if you've come from an ACM world. I've now become a bit of a fan of PLDS, to be honest. It's got a lot more freedom on it, and once it all goes to PLDS, it'll make all our lives a lot easier.
Well, another question, when they downgrade from CM to IP Office, do they get ACE? Is there an option for ACE on that?
That was on there. If we go here, it's got to be...
it's one of your ACE options.
It's CM5 and below. I'll show you it here. So we go to... There we go. So, yeah, communicate. It's one we done, Paul. That was Paul when we was there. Yeah, so...
he said downgrade though, but it's not upgraded.
It's upgrade. Let's see...
No.
Let's stop the
Stuart. Well, Stuart.
But there we go. So communication release 5 or less. You can do ASIP on it. I'm presuming that will change as well as time goes on.
So I have one question about the design you just created.
Yeah.
It's an ASIP using 200 users. So let's say that you want to reuse the existing stations, that there are also 9,608 stations, and you want to reuse them. The design you just created added the phones as well, but I don't need the phones. I only need the licenses for ASIP.
Don't forget the discounts only on the licenses anyway. So what we would do is change it. We'll change it now.
Simply use your design, adjust, and take out the handsets.
No, what we'll do.
Or
no, let's not.
You add them in.
Let's not do days.
Spare IP endpoint.
Yeah. What we would do. Confirm this works as well while we're here. So we would take out our 960, and then we would say, I want spare IP endpoint licenses, so I want 200. We'll also see straight away if this works, because if it doesn't, it will remove the licensing. So there we go. The fact that it's stayed there, so if I show you up here, migrations, I've told it I want to migrate 200. I've told it I want 200 spare licenses, and I've got no phones. So if I now go bigger design, we'll just get the ASIP on the licenses. Because ASIP only counts for licenses, it doesn't do it on the phones anyway. So yeah, no problem at all.
Okay, thanks.
I have a question to ask.
Go on.
Sorry, I have a question to ask as well. On the CM, when you do that with the Nortel, you can reuse the handsets if there is SIP mode. So, and I see you've got an option there to use third-party endpoints, so you can reuse the phones?
No, it uses a normal endpoint license. It doesn't need third-party. It uses an Avaya endpoint. Yeah. So that's what we've done then, was just we just told it we're having spare endpoint licenses rather than third-party, and we then get ASIP changes. So you can see ASIP's still there. We've got two 100 endpoint licenses and they're ASIP'd.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Thanks for the question.
You'll also find if you run that all the way through to promotions, you get a promotion on top of ASIP.
Which we can show you.
So you end up with two. Yeah, an ASIP is a program rather than a promotion, whereas the promotion bit you'll be adding on to this.
Just to back up what Steve was saying then, if we go back into that, so you've already added ASIP on all your licenses and the endpoints, we can then go in and we still get your promotion for whatever you configured on the system. We can still go in here. So we go to our automated display.
It's worth noting if your site can't apply for some of these discounts apply to certain situations, so don't just apply the highest discount because it may not apply to your particular site. So just be a little bit careful there. But most of the time they are the upgrade now, and they are general promotions, so you can add the highest one, but not always. So just be aware of that and the promotions that are current as well.
If you're unsure, next to the actual promotion itself, there's a link, promotion details. If you click on that, it will then take you to the Avaya web portal and explain what that promotion's for.
Yeah, you don't want to make the mistake of quoting on a promotion that then you can't process because it doesn't apply to your particular site. Be out of pocket if you do that.
One thing I'd like to do, Paul, I'd like to give you these. We'll share this with you anyway, but I'll put this on. We've done these quite hard to find, so I don't know if you want to copy and paste those. Those links weren't the easiest, and get from other sites onto here seems to be quite painful as well. So to have those links is really useful. Is there any more questions? Or anyone good? Anything? We've got loads of time, so if you want to see anything else another time, please let us know, or let me know.
So one more question. The promotions, they don't necessarily last for 60 days as well, or do they?
No, they last longer, the promotions. They will give you on the promotion terms, they'll show you how long they're open for and how long they'll have start and end.
On your output, just under the promotion, it tell you when it expires?
You should do this for a living, Steve. You're good at this. There you go. So,
if you apply that one, don't forget the box.
Yeah, I always forget that.
Should we do an IPOC or a DTS?
We could.
Or add it to, just to show them where it is.
You're doing most. And then if you just go to the bottom, but this time do the HTML, so you don't actually have to open Excel. If you go right to the bottom, where the pricing is, just select the Avaya APL one, and then HTML. I can download it as an Excel.
I'll just see it.
Yeah.
We haven't showed people that. I don't know that they won't have all those selections there.
Yeah.
Will they?
Yeah. Well, it all depends on their account access.
We'll see. Keep it simple.
I think it's line 32 or 33 when it comes up.
I don't know if you all heard that, how sad Steve actually is that he knows what line it's going to be on.
Just see on the screen there, it'll say right at the top there, it'll say promotion description. Just below that is promotion expiry.
Yeah. I see,
Oh,
but
I
it's
see,
possible that the promotion
go.
expires before the 60 days are gone. That's possible.
Yes, it is possible.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why it's worth checking, keeping up to date with the promotions, just to make sure that you're not reducing a quote.
But as you can see, they've got quite a long time to
No,
go.
I was going to say most of our promotions now run for at least a year and a half, and this runs out anyway. It's been going for a while now. What will probably happen is extend it.
Or rename it. Or rename it to the same thing.
Yeah.
Rather than being called expansion, it'll be IP Office Growth Package, and exactly the same, which is quite useful.
But the key thing is that your design is ready to order, so you can actually order it. So if you just go up a little bit, see where it says ready to order in the middle of the screen there? It doesn't say that something has changed or new promotion or the design's changed or whatever. It has to be in that state for you to actually buy it.
And it's worth mentioning the share quote. If you wish us to have a look at a quote, or other people to have a look at the quote, the shared quote tick box needs to be ticked also. I think by default it does tick, but sometimes it's not. I don't know why. But
Right. We all good?
I think that's it, isn't it?
Any more questions? We'll communicate. Yes, we probably should let you know about that. There was going to be a design on the enterprise stuff this afternoon, but due to personal problems of the person that was meant to be doing that, we've had to delay it. We'll send out details. I think we've got details.
Yeah, we'll be sending out details, but just for your benefit, it will be the same time next Tuesday, so 2 p.m. next Tuesday.
Yeah, apologies for that. Like I said, we didn't know about this till yesterday, and it was an unavoidable situation that we couldn't get out of, unfortunately. No problem. Thanks, Michael. Yeah, I'm just marketing are going to make it look the recording look a bit nicer. I think they'll be using a lot of paint on us, and it will get over to you. Right, many thanks. Talk to you again soon.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers.